Here we go with another team analysis video for AFL Fantasy 2025. Today we're talking about the Collingwood Magpies. The main beast we have to talk about today is none other than, you know it, Mr. Nick Daicos. And who doesn't know about Nick Daicos? He played 23 games last year with an average of 104.7. He loves to have the ball in his hands and his work rate is unreal. Very much an outside player, getting in between chains of plays and usually showing up exactly where he needs to be. Copped a bit more attention last year after being put in as a pure midfielder for most of the year and actually showed us that he is a bit mortal. He can have a slow game every once in a while, but he does have a ridiculous amount of CBAs and he'll just keep getting more this year. I think after a year of learning and being in the guts with Pendles and with all those guns that have been there for years, he's just going to be bigger and better this year, and he's going to, top 3 midfielder for me at an average of 110 this year, I reckon. Another beast to have on your cards on draft day is Mr. Dan Houston, who just got traded from Port Adelaide to the Pies, managed 22 games for Port Adelaide last year at an average of 94, and I reckon he will be the prime kick-in taker this year at the Pies. Last year, the 3 leading kick-in takers for the Pies were Jeremy Howe, Darcy Moore and Brendan Maynard, and I'm pretty sure that Moore doesn't want to be taking kick-ins and Howe would much rather be taking the marks than giving the kick to the marks. So I feel like Houston's the man, and he took 80 kick-ins at the Power last year, the second most to Kane Farrell, so he's just the man to have the ball in the hands down back. Also very capable of going through the midfield and getting his fair share of tackles as well, and has a very booming and accurate boot on him that can slot goals from outside 50 when required. So he's just a bit of an all-rounder with that defensive status, and could be really big at the Pies this year. He's obviously a key piece to Collingwood's 2025 campaign and will get plenty of the ball this year. I think he's just outside my top 10 defender ranks, but could very easily be inside that top 10. And another beast to think about this year going in with the ruck stocks is Mr. Darcy Cameron, who is unchallenged at the Pies. He is the main man. I think he's incredibly underrated. He's consistent and he's reliable. His role is so secure, with the main backup being Mason Cox, who is dead set terrible, and the other 3 listed ruckmen are all rookies with no AFL experience whatsoever. So really nothing to take away all the CBAs he gets and all the hitouts, and just one that's been getting better and better. After round 15 last year, after the bye, he went at an average of 103, including a massive 147. He's probably going to keep that form going into this year, I'd say. And again, he's so underrated. No one talks about him enough, I think, because there's some huge rucks out there, but one to really get as a valuable pick, maybe in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, even on draft day, when everyone's forgotten about rucks. On to some breakouts and sleepers now, and I've got a guy that's been there for a while in the form of Patrick Lipinski, who does have forward status coming into the season. He's an established part of the Collingwood starting squad, and he had a couple of stinkers last year, including a game where he was subbed out on 17. He made up for it with his best game of the year to finish off the year with 30 disposals, 12 marks, and a 2-goal game for 139 fantasy points. His DPP status definitely gives him some value this year in a forward drought, I think, and he's definitely one to keep an eye on as a good F3 or even an F2 if he gets a good midfield role. Alright, this breakout's been on the cards for a while, but yes, it's Mr. Finlay McRae, who, again, he has forward status coming into the year. He played 9 games last year at an average of 39.9. Pies fans have been waiting to see if Finn McRae can step up. He's had his chances and opportunities to flourish, but he just hasn't made the most of it. With aging old reliable midfielders like Pendlebury, Mitchell, Sidebottom, De Goey still regularly rolling through the guts, it's hard to make a name for yourself in the Collingwood midfield if your last name isn't Daicos. But the day is coming where the changes of the guard happens. Pendles is 37, Sidebottom is 34, Mitchell continues to be hampered by injury, De Goey is not a full-time midfielder in my opinion. Someone else has to step up in the midfield, and it kinda has to be Finn. He dominated at VFL for the last 2 years, and he's hitting the prime age of 23 this year. Should be in for his biggest season yet, you'd have to think, and potentially a make or break one at that for him. So he really needs to put his foot down for his own self-survival in the Collingwood side. I'm thinking he could average well if he gets games, and a sneaky average of 72. Another rookie from last year's mid-season draft is Ned Long, another big accumulator, big-bodied midfielder who could also be the solution to that Magpies future midfield dilemma. He's still young and he averaged 101 last year in the VFL. He just loves to tackle, which is what I like to see in my speculative midfielders. Just another to keep an eye on throughout the year if that midfield role does become available. And finally, a big beware coming into this year, and it makes me a bit sad to say, but Tom Mitchell is not the man he used to be. He played 6 games last year, an average of 79. A combination of constant injuries and an unbeneficial coaching style have brought the downfall of this old pig. The most recent foot injury taking him well out of contention for starting him in round 1 even. And I just don't think he can keep his body right and hasn't been able to in recent years. So I just feel like his best is well and truly behind him, even if he does get on the park for some games this year. So really look out for him on draft day. Do not jump the gun on Tom Mitchell, whatever the stats used to say. And those are a few Collingwood Magpies players that I've got my eye on coming into the 2025 fantasy season. Hope I've given you a little bit of insight with this video, and if you liked it at all, please consider liking and subscribing, and stay tuned for the next video. We're going to get into the Essendon Bombers. So see you in the next one.